Hey, good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, March 16th, and you read that title right. Credit Suisse got a credit line late yesterday, and so they're back to trading where they were 2 days ago, which is still like 90% down from, like a year prior, but, it's something. That being said, big exciting news for the um, subreddit today, at least. We've got Mark Mobius, PhD, and big investor, big shot investor in emerging markets, doing the text AMA. And hopefully, if you guys show him a good time, we'll bring him on these Reddit talks as well. But until then, I guess we can only just have to listen to you guys. So, also, we've got, we're moving over to Discord. So I'm putting in the Discord link now in the comments. That's why I'm so very confused, because I can't type and speak at the same time. There it is. Super hard to see, but click that. Should be sure to get future notifications for these talks. Now, let me invite you guys up and kick things off with some Tard astrology. Masked, that's something you can provide for us today? If not, that's cool too. How you doing now, you average monkey?
Good morning, guys. I'm good. How's everyone today?
Good. I think people are confused because I left the Mark Mobius post stickied and not this one, where this one's usually stickied.
Yeah, it didn't come up for me either. Someone had posted it in the Discord main chat. So yeah, I don't think this one's coming up in the announcements. So give it a minute, right?
Yeah, but hey, just me and you can talk. What's popping in the market?
What do you think about the bailout for Credit Suisse, right? I mean, that is a bailout.
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard very strong opinions on both sides about how this is, brutally unjust, but also the most pragmatic thing for the economy. So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I am not Swiss, so I mean, I don't care what they do with their own government's money as much as Americans get mad when they think that there's a bailout. So I don't have that emotional side, which is good. I think it's a small enough country, and I mean, they're pretty much a socialized democracy anyhow. It's not that far of a stretch to really think that it already isn't a nationalized bank. So scary, but it's the cockroach bank that just won't die. So I don't think it's a good sign overall, but it doesn't tweak me as much as it tweaks other people. So I see Mask is up. We've got a slowly growing number of apes coming in. How are you today, Mask?
Oh, I am pissed the fuck off. This is the fourth straight day without Tart astrology. I'm absolutely undyingly infuriated. Even though I was up about 6% in my SoFi portfolio yesterday. So I was a little green, but, I'm still pissed because no Tart astrology updates for any of you. I'm really sorry.
Sorry, what are your holdings in your SoFi portfolio?
I got shares of Sundial. I got shares of Brandywine. I got shares of all my shares are down, right? But my SI puts went up from basically worthless yesterday and quadrupled. So that's why I'm up, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I was wondering that same thing, opinion. I'm like, yesterday? You were up yesterday? Yeah, what?
Exactly. I was up yesterday because of these SI puts.
Yeah, who needs recession-proof stocks? Just invest in whatever Mask has.
That's right. Hey, this is the way, opinion.
Hey, your option plays, I know you just started buying or selling them this year. You've been pretty good. I know it may be beginner's luck, but it's pretty amazing.
Well, yeah, but I'm only as good as the people around me. You gotta think about that.
You gotta give yourself some credit too. You've come up with this stuff. No matter what triangles you look at or crowns you eat, it's working for you, buddy.
But I have lost a significant amount already, and I have a feeling that there's more to expire. Who knows? Maybe these SI puts will print.
Perhaps. You know what puts are printing? FRC, down 30% in pre-market. This must be like after 2008 the most tumultuous time for banks. Like, I don't think I've ever seen big banks fluctuate this much. Hardy?
Oh, you haven't seen anything yet, opinion. The best is yet to come.
Oh no. What does that mean?
That's an ominous voice from you, sir. I mean, yeah, please share.
What brought SVB down? Can anyone answer? Or what contributed to their falling? It was, to be fair, it wasn't any one thing.
I would say
I think it was the bonds, man. Like they did the stupid pledge of the bonds. They pledged all their money there. Government started printing more money, and inflation fucked them up.
Close. So here's my thesis, just to share some notes. SVB invested in what are called mortgage-backed securities. Basically, they put up a bunch of cash in exchange for that cash back plus a little bit of interest. This was back when rates were near zero. The Fed then started raising interest rates. Now, the thing about interest rates, in the fixed income markets, basically any form of bond trading, it's possible to buy a bond less than face value. So when the interest rates goes up, the risk-free rate from the Fed, let's say, rises to 4%, a bond is paying 1.5%. Someone who's willing to buy that bond will have to pay less than face value in order to achieve better than that 4% risk-free return. And in doing so, the face value of those bonds decreases. So SVB was forced to realize a loss by selling those bonds. What caused them to realize the loss, or what caused them to sell the bonds, was pretty much a run on deposits. And because they didn't have sufficient liquidity, they had to take those unrealized losses, which would disappear because of accounting shenanigans, and realize them. Taking the entirety of the mortgage-backed securities market, the implied unrealized loss across all banks is on the order of $600 billion. It's unclear what event will force them to realize those losses, but think of it like a house of cards. Once the withdrawals or the withdrawals increase above some threshold, or the deposits decrease below a threshold, forcing the banks to realize those losses, I imagine it'll start a cascading effect where puts print. Does that all make sense?
So basically you're saying they have learned nothing from 08.
No.
It's not that they learn nothing.
He's speaking of the notion. That's what he's speaking. The concept of the notional. The notional is a very important concept to understand in these changing markets. You see,
It's entirely possible they're aware of it, but for whatever reason are under-hedged.
These smaller banks, they're weak. See, me, I'm a representative of the big banks, very strong banks, the top three, what we call us the bulge. You see, the big banks, we're ready to eat the small banks. The small banks, they're not ready. They're not ready to be sustained in this market. It's the end stage of capitalism.
And essentially what I think all this pressure really started was the crazy rise in rates. And the amount of free money that we had for 12, 14 years, we have never unwound this amount of quantitative easing ever in the history of worlds. So they said they were going to keep pushing until things started to break. And mismanagement of treasuries is, it is the corporate, the C-suite's fault that it happened. But the other factor, I think, was really this meteoric rise in rates, right?
Well, I think also a contributing factor to Silicon Valley Bank failing particularly was that, so much of their client base was located in the Bay Area. Acknowledge that there's a lot of other types of deposits there, but I think the ability for one or several influential people to precipitate kind of an area of the country highly sort of incestuous area of the country, if I could say that. They all kind of feed upon themselves. They all talk to themselves. They all, kind of, it's a little bit of a bubble.
A recluse.
Right. So, I think that precipitated a bigger effect than would probably take effect in something like, for example, some of these super regional banks, right? They've got presences in like North Carolina and Florida, in the Midwest. They've got maybe a little in like the upper Northeast, maybe in the middle of the country. It's kind of hard to find that same sort of insular communications channels where one group can really, cause a large percent of the deposit base to start to, have their knees shake and them start running for the door. I think that's kind of a piece that's a little bit of a catalyst to SVB, a little bit idiosyncratic to SVB.
Idiosyncratic risks, huh?
Hello, can you hear me?
You're
Yes.
from England.
Hi, morning. The Financial Times explained it in a very similar way. So picking up on all those points, it was those purchase of the low yield bonds in a time of
I
very
really
low
don't like
interest
how this
rates.
feels like BBC. Honestly.
So part of the trouble is the fact that it's made it to the Financial Times implies that we're already 6 weeks late.
God damn it.
Oh
God.
yeah, I mean they're explaining the reasoning why as a post-mortem. So yeah, it's the low interest bonds, but also yes, the concentration of the customers there in Silicon Valley, where they talk, they panic, but there's also the higher cost of living, the inflation that meant that they were trying to withdraw more cash, the recession exacerbating the fact that all of these companies, these startups, they're starting to struggle. So it's that tipping point of them thinking that their deposits were going to be staying in there and starting to withdraw, and it becomes a snowball effect. So it's partly the trigger point of the higher inflation, that recession starts to kick in, and these companies are not performing as they should.
So about
it's a
that
combination.
inflation and with about
isn't the British bond market the worst in this world? Like, aren't your inflations at like 11-12%? I don't know why the British are trying to give us advice on how to take our inflation.
Hold that thought, Michael.
What's my nationality got to do with anything?
Yeah.
It has
Could you
nothing
mute-
to do with it. This guy's
could you mute your mic too? Or thank you, Hardy. Go ahead, sir.
So,
All right, moving
a
on.
quick
Yeah.
question for British. In what way does the recent rise in inflation affect a startup's cash burn? Because they haven't
If they
raised
have
wages.
to give pay rises, so if you've got
They haven't,
workers who are
though.
saying, if they did, I mean, if there's going to be any costs for, I don't know, any of their suppliers are going to be raising costs. So any of their cost of sales at all, if that starts to rise, then they're not going to have the same profit margins as you'd expect. It affects all companies. So unless, do you think that inflation does not affect startups at all? Maybe it was their revenues. We're talking about tech startups where it's ad revenue that's giving them their revenue in the first
A
place.
large amount of SVB's depositors had those deposits because these are companies that had raised some series round in order to build a product.
Right.
So their inputs are cloud subscriptions, typically. Think AWS, Google Cloud, Snowflake, etc. And human capital, people's salaries. Now, AWS and Google, I can't speak for the other clouds, haven't materially increased the price of their services. So that couldn't attribute to an increased cash burn. And similarly, the wages of individual employees at these startups haven't materially increased. Maybe like a minimal 3-4% cost of living increase where that happens. It's definitely not the norm, at least in the US. I can't speak to Europe.
Was
So
there
I'm trying to
something affecting
understand.
their profit performance though? Because
These are pre-revenue companies. So they're burning cash, quite literally, to build a product with the hope of generating revenue. But they haven't gotten to that secondary stage yet. So I'm trying to understand how the increase of inflation has affected their cash burn. And at least from my perspective, it doesn't make sense. So I was hoping you could bridge that gap for me.
Yeah,
British.
I can give it a shot if British wants. I work in this area. So I would just say that in this macroeconomic environment, what companies like mine have found is that sales cycles are getting longer. people are wanting to put more due diligence in. People are wanting to spend more time in procurement. They're dotting the i's and crossing the t's more in contracting. So the sales cycles being longer are just affecting the top line really, and so there's less money coming in. The same amount of money is going out. I don't think I could agree with British that, and to Hardy's point that salaries are staying constant, and cloud costs, if anything, are sort of deflationary, right? Disinflationary. So it's not an increasing expense factor. It's that the top line is not terribly healthy.
The ad revenue.
Just revenue in general. I mean, not all startups are in advertising, but yeah, the revenue in general is not very healthy for this sector. So people aren't replenishing their coffers, at SVB, and venture capital is also quite tight.
Yeah, fine, I accept that. So yeah, profits are squeezed, but for a different reason. I understand.
Correct.
All right, thank you for sharing. So I guess that's as good an answer as we're going to get. Does anyone else have news to share? Has anyone seen the unemployment claims data yet?
I just want to say good fucking morning, everybody.
What's up, America?
Morning.
I think I have a way to single-handedly save the entire world economy.
Let's hear it.
I'm going to buy puts, because the market always does the opposite of what I want.
So on a more serious note, unemployment claims came in at 192,000 week over week versus 205 expected, which implies that the unemployment rate went down at least a little bit week over week. So look to the Fed being forced to continue the pace with which they're raising rates. The forecast, I believe, will show up next week, or at least the implied forecast as we get closer to the 22nd, when they announce the Fed funds rate.
Has the ECB made their decision yet? Announced their rate increase? Yeah. I don't know. British isn't here anymore.
I don't know.
Yeah. I would say that would be a big tell for what the Fed would do, I would guess.
Doesn't the ECB mimic Fed, not the other way around?
Well, I think the tail is starting to wag the dog a little bit because the ECB has been more hawkish than the Fed lately, and we're just farther along in the rate hiking cycle. But I think the ECB is probably looking at some systemic risk, some contagion in the banking sector, especially with Credit Suisse and others. So I would imagine they would be none too happy to see the Fed raise when SVB and Signature or whatever were potentially precipitating this banking crisis, and then ECB backs off the brakes, but the Fed keeps it on, like threshold break. It's kind of a tough story to tell. We caused we were the first indicators of a banking crisis, but we're going to keep hiking while the ECB is like, hey, let's chill for a second. It's kind of a tough story.
The way that I've looked at the last, let's call it week, with all the banking news, when the Feds came in and did the emergency not executive action, but the emergency funding function, and opened up all these loans, essentially all of the quantitative tightening that they have done in the way of getting rid of assets, or at least letting them run off the books, they just undid that. So effectively, they've actually, I don't want to say cut rates, but they've kind of gone the other way. Do you think that's why they're still going to probably at least do a quarter point rate hike versus like a cut, Hardy? Do you see what I'm talking about? How it's turning a different faucet off or on, if you will. Does that make sense?
It does, but part of the trouble is a lot of these faucets are interconnected, flowing into the same basin. So you might turn on the cold tap, you'd lower the pressure of the hot tap, maybe increase the pressure of the freezing tap, and still end up with an uncomfortable washing experience. So I'm not entirely sure what options are left short of bondholders taking a loss for the rest of us.
And that was my point earlier about how we've never seen this kind of monetary policy undone before. So I think these are the cracks that we're seeing. So Hardy, I didn't know if you had posted your plays or not. Do you see any good opportunities out there, or do you have any favorites? I know you don't have it. Did the numbers tell you, are there any better plays than not?
The short answer is, the plays are in my post history. I haven't had a chance to post to this chat. I'm probably not going to do that, especially since the chat's going away on the 21st. But if you look at my post history, I do have, I think it's 8 plays for today. We'll see if their target prices get hit. Nothing in particular stands out, but I do want to point out anecdotally that relatively few companies with option open interest in excess of 100,000 contracts have crosses, which implies they're nowhere near delta neutral or gamma max. So these are definitely higher risk plays than usual. And I tried to adjust the option pricing to reflect that, but there's a stronger chance that I may have gotten it wrong.
No, I appreciate the detail on that. I know a lot of people read those daily, so thank you. What's up, America?
Yes, thank you. Those plays are awesome. I just want to say Intel got upgraded to neutral from Sequoia. So I don't know if it's Sequoia the one that's been buying them up all of last week on these little morning pumps and afternoon pumps. But I'm balls deep, baby. I'm balls deep in calls expiring tomorrow, 30 to 31. So can't wait till they expire to 0. Is anybody playing meta earnings? Feeling lucky today.
It's a little curious that they haven't waited to announce the layoff until earnings. So the fact that they did that mid-quarterly cycle suggests that earnings might not be as good, unless, of course, they announce an additional $20 billion worth of stock buyback.
Isn't there like a stock buyback window that's was a blackout window supposed to be open today or something?
So typically the way it works, at least for insiders, is you're welcome to freely trade the stock up to 30 days after the most recent quarterly announcement, after which you go into a blackout period where you should not trade. You can get around that using what's called I think it's a 409A plan or whatever executives typically use to sell specific numbers of shares at specific times.
So you think it's more bearish that they've been announcing layoffs up until earnings?
I'm standing aside on meta plays, at least for now, mainly because at their current valuation, it seems fair, assuming their ad business is stable and their cash burn on their, shall we say, experimental businesses or technologies stays the same. I'm not really sure how to value the loss of the llama models. The fact that those trade secrets got leaked suggests, and the fact that Meta isn't throwing losses around suggests that they've succumbed and are trying to embrace it, but are not sure how to pivot.
I'm kind of like iffy on it just because I heard like a news article came out today saying that Biden's backtracking now on the TikTok ban. And I think a lot of that push was basing everyone's like, oh, everyone's about to get off TikTok. Everyone's going on Meta and shit. But I don't know. You know what? I'm too much of a gambler to sit on the sidelines, so I'm going to buy some calls.
I think part of the reason why he's not as, or no longer as comfortable with the ban is because a lot of Congress critters would lose their seat due to their younger leaning voter bases.
And that's why now they're just asking for the governmental or the owners to sell their shares. So again, as I mentioned before on this call, it's just going to become a negotiation. They're never going to outright ban it. But while we've been on the call, it's small bit of news, but the UK government banned TikTok from their phones following the US's step in January. So Meta's over 200 in pre-market America. I looked at the charts. I mean, it may go back up to 230, but I kind of agree with Hardy. I think them adding or subtracting more jobs before the earnings is not a good sign. So you're going to buy more now. I know.
Yeah, 100%. You know, honestly, but shout out to the chat for letting me know that Meta doesn't report earnings today. It's Meta Materials, apparently. But I wouldn't put it past people to put calls on it.
I mean, I looked at it and I saw it was April 24th, but I mean, maybe you're buying monthly calls, but yeah, thank you, chat.
I don't ever buy monthly calls. I risk it all on weeklies, man. This is WallStreetBets.
That should have been my first clue. My bad.
Does anybody know what the implications of this, $2 trillion in injection going to have with the equity market here in the next couple of days? Or is it just kind of like up in the fucking air? Like, we're just going to put $2 trillion towards it and then kind of figure it out then?
Sorry, I missed that. What's the $2 trillion from?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Yeah. Do you have any more detail on that? Because I'll take some of it.
Is it $2 trillion? I hope it's not. Hold on. Let me see. Give me 1 second.
Doesn't match up with any headlines I read or my bank deposit. Sorry. Hey, someone, Hendrix has got his hand up. I can't bring him up. Oh, thank you.
Oh, no, he's up.
Cool, thank you.
Good morning. I got a question for Hardy. Hardy, this, if you don't mind a little bit of input on this $2 trillion loan facility from the Fed, it's supposed to be protecting banks or whatever entity needs to be able to sell bonds in order to shore up their balance sheets. Am I understanding that correctly? And if so, what is to stop them from doing so, and what effects would have? Like, why wouldn't they just start running on bonds right now, and what would that do to the market?
Well, basically, this would allow the Fed to set a floor price for the bonds so that any unrealized losses can potentially be turned into break-evens or slight gains because the losses are effectively being transferred to the Fed's balance sheet.
Got it.
How do you guys assess the risk of another bank at some point today or tomorrow needing to actually shut down or needing to be liquidated?
That's a moving situation. Nothing's happening till it's happening.
I was reading a report earlier, maybe it was last night, I don't remember anymore. 99% of mortgages, or some absurdly high percent of mortgages outstanding, have a rate that is less than the prevailing mortgage rate. Now, the reason why this is important is it affects something called prepayments. Average mortgage prior to this massive hike in rates was on the order of 5 to 7 years, and these are typically 30-year mortgages. And it makes sense. You have refinancings, you have homes being bought and sold. There are plenty of legitimate reasons why this kind of churn exists. And this factors into something called prepayment risk modeling in order for traders in the fixed income space to figure out how much prepayment risk they should apply when investing into different tranches of bonds backed by these securities. Knowing that, and knowing that the churn in mortgage-backed securities are likely to decrease, there's a very good chance the prepayment risk decreasing and the increased lifetime interest income from these bonds will contribute to their price decline, because as long as the Fed keeps raising rates, more and more of the initial principal needs to be used as future payments in order to justify the risk that's associated with these securities. So overall, considering how much outstanding notional value exists, largely bearish, provided there's a catalyst which causes involuntary selling. We haven't yet hit that catalyst, or at least it's not yet obvious to me, but I'm definitely on the look for it.
Just to add something to the $2 trillion loan facility, actually, I read a little bit more about it, and it appears that these loans are to be collateralized by the bonds at face value. So basically, they're just going to hold them to maturity.
Yeah, and again, this is to my point earlier. This is them undoing that quantitative tightening they have, right? Letting the balance sheet run off. They just increased it potentially by $2 billion, where they're going to take these underwater bonds and just put them on a shelf, right?
Well, it's effective. Correct me if I'm wrong, Hardy, but not actually, but effectively a rate cut.
It's similar to a rate cut, you're right, but only for the chosen few.
Well, and to me also, it runs into that issue, not to get too big brained here, but also with the upcoming debt ceiling issue, the debt service becomes higher and higher for us as well. Where they may not raise rates because they're going to break the government balance sheet. I mean, it is pretty much broken already.
Well, when you consider the fact that they just took a whole bunch of assets that were high risk and made them risk-free, it stands to reason that they will raise rates, because they just sort of low-key cut them now. And so there's space for them to raise again.
But it depends on how bad this really is. Do they want to break more banks? You know what I mean?
I don't see how it depends how bad anything is. They've committed the $2 trillion, and like that's going to effectively operate as a rate cut for these hurt banks, right? So they get to operate in step with the rest of the banks that aren't on toxic balance sheets or aren't facing liquidity crises. So J-POW can come in and stay on schedule, while low key making exceptions for the toxic balance sheets of some of these more liquidity crunched banks.
So specifically, what is the $2 trillion going towards?
So I was right on that number. Okay, cool.
From what I understand, the Fed has made available $2 trillion in a loan facility that banks that are facing liquidity crunches can put their held to maturity bonds, which are currently underwater because they would need to be sold early, up as collateral to get face value in cash back. And it's very likely that the terms of those loans will take those bonds to maturity.
Yeah, and Hendricks, I do agree with you. I know that them taking that basically is like a rate cut. I'm just fearful that they know, again, the fact that they're taking such drastic measures, I don't think I think it's gonna be a quarter point personally, but I think they're afraid to raise rates higher even in the face of inflation. And again, I think there could be further, I hate the word contagion, but could be other mismanagement, right? And further interest rate hikes could break it. So
I don't think that they're afraid of anything, and I wouldn't agree with me. I'm asking questions. I'm not making statements.
But sometimes it's questions in the form of like, is this right? And you could be like, I think that's right. But anyhow, it's troubling times regardless. So
What's this Fed payment system they're launching in July?
do you have more detail? Is it something to do with the banks, or what are they funding?
It said long-awaited Fed digital payment system to launch in July. What the fuck is that? I have no other information about that, other than I know they said they were launching some kind of online payment system in terms of what?
Fed Now or their CDBC Central. Yeah.
You're joking. They're launching that? Is there a link to an article?
I don't
they're
think
launching in
it's
July.
their CBDC. I don't think it's their CBDC. I won't say that it's not powered by blockchain, but from what I understand, it's just to allow Fed partners to transfer money instantly or more quickly or more efficiently. It's more like a wire line.
Are they just using that as like a contingency if like another bank fails down the road again, and like they can just access money faster? It's just more of like a liquidity kind of situation.
It would certainly help with that. I'm not going to go so far as to say that's why they did it, but it would help.
How is this being implemented? Is it basically each participating bank maintains some balance with the Fed, and then the Fed just reassigns who owns which dollars?
I haven't read enough about it to be able to answer that question.
Sorry, America. I don't know. I have not looked into it yet. I'm not going to go try fumbling with my thumbs. Still drinking my coffee.
It's all good, bro. I'm just curious because it's just so it's pretty sus, man. Pretty suspect that they're launching this shit after all this shit's happening. So,
well, this has been very much in the works for a long time. It's to reduce the settlement period between institutions. So I don't think there's by any means anything suspicious about it. I think it's more that this is going to mean that, you can transfer money any day of the week, holidays, whenever, right? And I think that, Hardy, you asked the question is how is it being implemented? I guess that's to ask, like, who is going to participate and who isn't. But this is, from what I understand, at least, like a huge advantage that I can't imagine anyone wanting to not participate. Because how do you sell a bank account when you tell people, oh, yeah, but just because you bank here, you won't be able to settle your funds or transfer your funds immediately. You'll have to wait a few days, as it is now.
Yeah, this looks like a categorically good thing.
Yeah, I'll post a link with more information in the comments, but yeah, I don't know if this is necessarily tradable or if there's other trade ideas you guys might have or market news you guys want to talk about. This could kill Venmo and Cash App, if I understand it correctly.
I'm not sure that it will. It'll only kill any of these money transfer services if CBDC is made accessible to the everyday ape. I suspect it'll be banks only. The same through a very, very concentrated lobbying effort.
Yeah, this Fed Now service bulletin on the federalreserve.gov, it seems to only talk about depository institutions and their service providers. So I don't know that it's like interbank clearing.
I think that can be compared to the UPI in India, where it's like a Visa or Mastercard network, but that's owned by the government, and it's a huge success. And I think it's a similar service that they're trying to launch here. I don't think it has anything to do with the current crisis, but it's just the way of payments to be done by the commoners.
But again, I think it looks like it's only for depository institutions and their service providers. Will be able to build on this fundamental capability to offer value-added service to their customers. Yeah, it's Rails. You're right. It's Rails for banks to build a Zelle-like service.
Yeah, Zelle is what I was heard it was compared to.
Some guys in the chats are saying that it could also be an open door to crypto for them, I guess.
Yeah, they would need a high-speed transfer network if they're going to start dealing with CBDC. They would need instant settlement.
So they're just upgrading the printers, huh?
Yeah, I mean, when you bring it up like that, yeah, it's like switching out the paper clips. I mean, they're coming to the 20th century. It should add liquidity from what I've heard. And yeah, I don't see any tinfoil dots to connect here. So
Get rid of all these fucking Xeroxes. I want fucking computers. I want apples, okay? I want watches.
TVs are still big in their office, you know? It's pretty funny.
They got a whole big room for an old, like, 1970 computer that's still there working on some bullshit system.
Running punch cards.
Pal had enough. He said, fuck this. It's time to upgrade. And I can tell you, man, the government sometimes is slow to upgrade shit.
So we're bearish on PayPal and other payment services opinion. There's your market. I tried. I hooked it back.
I'm short in HP.
All right, we only have 15 minutes in the market open. Does anyone have any plays? Has anyone been making money? What's going on, Ryler? Hello, Ryler. What's up, buddy?
Hey, buddy. I have a play, but it's up to opinion if I can talk about it.
Yeah, go for it.
You know which one I'm talking about, right?
I do not, but
The one I DM'd you about this morning.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, go for it. This is
Okay, so the past couple months, whatever, in the WSB Discord, we've been joking around about this company, because they have a funny ticker name. Couple of us started digging into their financials, and we're like, hey, this might not actually be just a meme stock. There's some decent cash flow here and some orders coming in. And compared to companies like Rivian that have also gone down like 90% in the past year or so, I mean, there's not a good outlook for the EV market. But they just posted their earnings this morning, and they have zero debt. They have pretty good positive cash flow. They have earnings coming, or orders coming in. They're expecting to get profits by the end of this year. They're currently, I think it's like 154 million market cap, but they are on the Nasdaq, and there was once DD posted on WallStreetBets when they were above the 500 million market cap, and they've just got slammed since then. But the more we've dug into it, they sound like they have really cool stuff coming out. There's they call it the P7 box truck platform. It's kind of looks like an Amazon van, but electric. And they also specialize in platforms where they just build like the guts and the engine, and commercial fleets can just put their body kits on top of it. So it's like a really smooth assembly line process. And while a lot of other companies like Nikola, for example, like can only eke out a few vehicles per year, they've been able to get like I think they quoted on their conference call this morning, they can do like 10,000 units a month or something. I can't remember the exact number, but there's an article that I can always link in the chat.
Do they have a patent or some other intellectual property on the skateboard design?
I believe so. I've heard other companies do have something similar, but they are unique in that their chassis, they call it the recorner. So like if you need to repair or modify it, you can lift the body off of it and separate it so that there's like zero downtime for maintenance. So like you can update and upgrade it within an hour, they said. So like other companies don't have that possibility, even if they have the skateboard idea. So it was just like some good news in a sea of crisis in the economy.
What was that ticker again?
It's REE. I don't know the military way of saying it.
So that would be Romeo Echo Echo.
Romeo Echo Echo. It's trading. Last I looked in pre-market, it's up 5%. And last week the market was like down. I think I looked at every sector was down at least 1 to 2%, and RE was up 10% last Friday. So I was like, what the hell's going on with this thing? And then positive news came out.
It's up like 7.5% now.
Oh wow! And one of our Discord residents bought. I don't want to tell you how many shares he bought, but he's going to be making bank today.
Is there options on it?
Yeah, there's very low liquidity and volume on the options. I did see because I searched it on WallStreetBets, like going back like the past year, seeing what people were saying about it, and people were buying calls and cash secured puts and things like that. But I would advise, like, if you're afraid of not having someone to sell it to, just keep an eye on that.
Renaissance Technology or whatever that fucking hedge fund increased their position on it. They increased their position by 55%, I think. I mean, that was back in December. I think it's Renaissance Technology.
Yeah, I saw an article saying that a couple, like, while some of these other companies are gaining in short interest, this one is actually hedge funds are buying it. So it's like, and last night, I think on the afternoon market talk, Justin the Penguin, if that's his name, he said he was looking through like insider buys, and he noticed that some of the directors had millions of buys when it was trading at $5 a share, and they're still holding on to the bags of their own company. So I guess that's a good thing if they haven't sold yet.
They have like 27% institutional ownership, which is pretty low, I think.
No, well, it's up to 32 last I checked on Fidelity, because I asked somebody that knows more than me, and they said that it's increased since then.
What's the ticker?
Romeo Echo Echo RE.
It's based out of Israel.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, they're based out of Israel. They also opened up a plant in Austin, Texas, so they're going to be producing vehicles here too.
Definitely a fan favorite on Discord. And
yeah,
if you haven't been over there, Discord, we're going over there in what, 10, 15 minutes, opinion, or are we staying over here? Not to kill the conversation, but good job, Ryder.
Thanks. And for those who think like I'm getting paid to say all this, I wish.
Morning, Skull. How you doing, buddy?
Good morning. I'm doing great.
What are you doing in this market before? I don't know if you're home. You sounds like you're not staticky.
I am. I'm at home. Well, I've got Credit Suisse calls that I bought. I know on the Discord yesterday I said puts, but then market conditions changed and I bought calls. Never hurts to bail out of a trade. And about 2 minutes before Luce posted that news article from the Bloomberg terminal, I got the heads up that the bank was being bailed out by the Central Bank of Switzerland. Now it looks like the European Central Bank and potentially JP Morgan have all joined the party in trying to bail out Credit Suisse. So I'm pretty happy that I pivoted from my puts into my calls, and we'll see what happens. I ended up accidentally buying some really degenerate calls, though. And then I bought some dated a year out, but I accidentally bought some that are only a month out. Then the more I'm looking at them, I'm like, I don't know if those are going to pan out.
Some big dick energy, baby. I love it.
No, and I like how you changed your mind too on the Credit Suisse, especially because it's a very volatile situation, and let's face it, they're pretty much a nationalized bank anyhow. They're the cockroach of banks. We've talked about that, so that should pay out for you this morning, right?
Yeah, should be. I'll probably clear out of the near dated ones just because, they're so near dated, and I'll just let the leaps ride.
Looking at the economic news this morning, building permits and housing starts are higher than expected. So it seems like either more inventory will be sitting on the market, or there's still a lot of pent-up demand for housing because of the much larger population in the U.S. I also want to point out that at 10:30 today, Eastern Time, natural gas storage will be announced. Considering all the cold snaps and the major winter storms we had last week, there's a chance that the gas storage will be lower than expected, which means short-term increase in natural gas prices.
Hardy, where's your avatar, man?
This is my avatar.
Talking to a fucking ghost.
Ooh.
So, Rylar, tell me about how Re is different from Arrival. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Arrival. But they were like...
different from their rivals?
Yeah.
So, they... Like I was saying before, especially they're not doing... what do you call it? Like, retail sales. They're a commercial fleet. So, like, let's say if they start getting deals with, like, UPS, Amazon, and some of those bigger delivery companies, that's a little different than, like, say, you have something like Lucid where it's a top of the line EV. Like, I've only seen one of them in real life. So, like, when you look outside, you see an Amazon truck or a UPS truck driving around constantly. So I feel like there's always going to be a need for commercial fleets, like, especially, like, even if you're like a plumber, like, imagine in like 2030 or something, like, they could be using one of those EVs, or potentially it's but, like, compared to the competitors, they build just kind of like the guts of everything. So when you look at other manufacturers, they're trying to build like a turnkey unit, and while Re does have turnkey units, like, their big selling point is that you can just fully customize everything.
I think this was the thesis around like Lordstown Motors, right? They were meant to also do commercial-oriented, like, vans and trucks and stuff. Obviously, Lordstown's a piece of shit fraud company, but yeah, I like this so far.
Yeah, it's like something that certainly piqued my interest. And another thing, I think it happened in August last year. They hired a former Tesla executive, and he's like their COO, and he's smoothed out like their assembly line process. So after he got hired, that's when they were able to, like, cut down on their assembly time and speed up production.
Sorry to break in with some important news, but the ECB did raise by another 50 basis points, Hardy. So, anyhow, back to Re.
What's the current ECB rate?
Not sure what the rate is. It just came across as a banner. I apologize. But they raised it in despite of all the issues. So we were talking about that earlier. So
Thanks for the update.
It looks like net of this 50 basis point hike, the new rate is 3%.
So we'll probably get another rate cut next week, right? That kind of old logic, maybe, but
You mean rate hike?
yes. Sorry, that's my dyslexia. Try being my accountant.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, that kind of gives the Fed more license to do, at least 25 bips. I feel like their credibility is challenged if they don't do at least some rate hike, but I think 50 would be a bit egregious given what's going on.
And the last inflation numbers were kind of in line, not great.
Right.
Is anybody playing Alibaba?
I've been a long-term bull in JD, which is somewhat related. What's up?
No, I'm just curious. The Chinese are making some moves, man, in the dark. You know what I mean? Always something up there. But I don't know. Alibaba looks like a buy to me, but it's been steady on a decline. So I'm trying to find an entry point.
No, and my fear right now, just with this back and forth, whatever the rhetoric is, what kind of Cold War, whatever war this is between us, is just I wouldn't invest in it. I've lost money in Alabama before, but your choice. And real quick, I've had a couple people ask me, and I apologize. I know we're right before market open, but we are going to move the talk over to Discord a little bit. But everyone should come over and join the Discord. There is gambling. There are groups. There's a bank. There's a church.
And there's a lot of memes too.
Yeah,
And
most of
and Hardy and Loose and me. Well, me might be like the downside, but
voice chats, talks with Georgia.
Oh, there's a serious channel if you guys just want to like talk stocks.
Yeah, like honestly, the talk with Georgia was amazing. We had he was peeing in the sink, then he went on camera. It was
oh no,
quite the experience.
He figured out. Rad got him to figure out the video in like 20 seconds yesterday. So he showed his diamonds. I mean, it was pretty cool. He's got a Kermit the Frog.
Kermit. Opinion, did you add the sync emoji to Discord yet?
Oh, I haven't. You know what? I'll do that right after this call when we all transition over.
Thank you. It's a priority.
Come over. Discord's fun.
Don't forget, he offers the best financial advice. Buy oil wells. He's got fucking drills. I mean, you name it. Georgia's fire.
Oh, he's a big fan of U.S. Steel, which I fucking love.
He teaches life lessons. He makes me look young too, so of course I love him.
All right, I'm gonna go start the stage. You guys hang here for another minute, and then we'll move over. Sound good?
Get that stage prep, baby. Get that stage prep.
What were you saying, Skull?
You what?
I knew we were trying to get in.
Did you know the ticker for U.S. Steel?
X.
Ding, ding,
X, dog.
It's the best one.
Oh yeah.
Sell scrap, buy X. I mean, you can't go up.
Oh yeah, pairs trades. He's telling you when to move your expiration or your price strike. I mean, he does everything.
He's a fucking pro, man. He's a fucking pro.
If you pick up 5% of what he's putting down, you're going to be better off, right? Bro.
Yeah, and I want to have a drink with him so bad.
He's probably drinking right now, honestly.
You're right, Paul.
I was gonna say, what is he medicated with? Did you guys establish that? Is it like a?
I think whiskey.
Oh,
Whiskey. A classic. I mean, doctors did used to write scripts for that, so.
Oh yeah, markets are open too.
Oh fuck! All right, see you guys on Discord.
We'll see you on Discord.
Bye, Ray.
Just hang tight.
I mean, real question: who hasn't taken a piss in the sink, especially when you're locked out of the bathroom?
I mean, sometimes it's the sink in the bathroom just because you're 6'6", you know? On a complete side note, has anybody seen the released footage of the Russian jet pissing on our drone?
Yes, my lord, it was like a river.
That guy just shit all over our drone. I can't even be mad about it.
Yeah, he's like so far away when he starts. He's like, I'm not gonna miss. You know, clearly he's not that far from his base or his carrier, right?
Good morning.
That's my thought. Is like, how much fuel does this guy have?
Anyhow, I'm sure you were going to say something market related. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. I got an 82.83 put credits call debit spread on GE as long as it doesn't lose 7% in the next 2 days if this fiddles. What do you guys think?
Honestly, I think there's going to be some stuff going on this weekend. I don't know why. I feel like some bank or some government or some shit's going to go down on either Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, this expires tomorrow.
Anybody heard this morning about what's going on with banks there?
Your mic's kind of distant there. Sorry.
I apologize. Is it better?
Getting there. Not quite.
Son of a hooker. European banks. Anyone talk to anybody over there?
Yes, I have to say something about European banks because you have seen a lot of statements in the last 48 hours by prime ministers, presidents, bank CEOs, and the media. You have ratios already published. So European banks are very, very healthy because after crisis 2008, they basically promoted a concentration of the systemic banks. So they basically forced big banks to acquire all the regional banks. The final mandate of the European Union is to have, I think it was less than 10 main systemic banks concentrating the whole industry in the Eurozone. And you can see the ratios are very, very healthy. So that's nothing to do with the American situation. And also, Credit Suisse was a bit of an outlier. You have seen Credit Suisse going through problems a year ago already, capital injections and this and that. They were kind of, there is something tricky going on in Switzerland that the government was not transparent. And this kind of blow up in their face. You also saw that the price auditors came up last week saying there is a big failure of internal control. So I would be careful with Switzerland banks, but not be very bearish in European banks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. What anybody else? Because there's something important that has come up, and I just would rather come from somebody in Europe. Anybody else in Europe on? Or did anybody talk to anybody else in Europe? So I'm not the one saying it about what's going on with CS.
There was somebody on the chat 2 or 3 days ago explaining the difference of coverage in European banks. Basically, the difference between American banks and European banks, and I guess that they have a higher required collateralization, so which secures them more. At least the ones that partake that are in the European Union. So I would not be as bearish on European banks as I am American banks right now. Good morning, everyone, by the way.
Still not what I'm trying to derive. Credit Suisse. A lot of people have plays on it right now, yes?
Yes. No, not right now.
Has there been a halt yet this morning?
I don't see any halts this morning on it.
I would highly recommend calling any friends you have that maybe live by one, that have time to go buy one and feel it out. Because from what I've gotten, and again, this is hearsay, things don't feel right. is all I've been told.
On what ticker?
On CS. But I mean, when's the last time anything felt right on CS?
Right.
Yeah. My
there's-
calls are printing, bro.
They are. And I just want you to
I
know
was
that
gonna say, aren't they getting bailed out by another larger bank?
They're getting bailed out by two banks. They're getting bailed out by the European Union Central Bank as well as the Swiss Central Bank.
the big rumor is Saudi Arabia. The Saudis want to buy in, and then the next big rumor was UBS.
The Saudis have already bought in. They're one of the largest shareholders.
Yeah, so I think what Nervous is referring to is CS was halted on some of the European trading markets at one point a few days ago, but they were never halted on the American market.
I hadn't checked yet, so I wanted to make certain on that. But like I said, just a caveat to think about if you're long term on this, or if you're longer than this afternoon on this.
The thing about the Saudis was that I think they have like a 9.9% in position. They can't go above 10 because then regulation kicks in for them. So I guess they wanted to buy more, but they're on the fence on it because of whatever the fuck reason.
They made an offer that was turned down, is what I've heard on that. And then UBS was being touted in European media as buying it. However, my understanding is that UBS has spent a lot of time saying they won't buy it, basically in-house. That's all.
It's a political situation.
I think we
they
need
don't
some
allow. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, never mind. I'm going to try to get this Redditor on here who I know who's actually a Swiss banker, and he'll probably be able to give us more information.
Yo, what's happening with Bed Bath & Beyond right now? Why the fuck is it? It's up 11%. Holy shit.
Really?
Yeah, it's up 10% right now. I just sold some shit because it's like, fuck, man, it's going to come down a little bit, which it is now.
Looking at its current price, yeah, it's up 11%, but my gosh, it's under $2.
I'm telling you.
It looks like it's in the death throes, right?
When your entire company's market cap is less than I spend on oil changes a year, that's why.
Fucking crazy, bro. How much is their market cap right now?
Weird flex.
About 250.
139. Oh, wow. Damn.
I bought some fucking calls. I'm gonna let it ride. I'm a gambler, baby.
Somebody was in here saying that it was going to pump up because of the fucking short interest, but I don't know.
My Intel calls are looking beautiful. I got in this morning a little closer to the strike, so we shall see.
Credit Suisse now does have the exact same credit default swap spread as Morgan Stanley going into the 07-08 financial crisis. Obviously, Morgan Stanley did not survive that.
Fucking Wall is down 14% and FRC is down 31%. Jesus. I'm glad I sold out of that shit yesterday. Fuck me. Holy fuck.
Yeah, yesterday was a good day to sell out of that.
I skipped yesterday entirely.
FRC halted?
What?
I was asking if FRC was halted because I'm looking at the options chain and it's all zeros.
Really? Moving on my side.
FRC is halted.
Wall just jumped back up to 29 briefly.
Yeah, I mean, at least Wall's balance sheet's moving in the correct direction. Meanwhile, First Republic is like, we are a literal dumpster fire, and people are still aping into it.
I just want to give some info on FRC. Someone just said there's zero open interest. I've noticed there's zero open interest on the weeklies, But on the normal options, there's a bunch of open interest. So don't be trading no weeklies because there's no open interest on them.
Right.
But now my FRC position's down. It's completely underwater. Greta was right about climate change. But yeah, because I had cool debit spreads and they're completely underwater now. So I'm just going to have to hodl and wait for the short leg to expire and then maybe sell my long leg.
How many kangaroos do you own?
Drop bears?
Sorry, how many what?
Drop bears.
Drop bears? Kangaroos? I love your
Oh
accent.
no, kangaroos is Australian. I'm from New Zealand, so we've got kiwis.
I can only
Practically the
tell
same
that
thing.
because my brother-in-law's from Australia.
Yeah.
He talks
The
about
poor
fighting
New Zealanders
kangaroos all the
always getting
time.
confused with Australians. Even their flags look alike.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they're literally thousands of miles away. Sorry, go ahead. Your country.
Yeah.
No, I love our Aussie neighbours. We've got a healthy rivalry, especially when it comes to sports.
What
Talk
about
about
bugs?
cricket or rugby?
Yeah, mostly rugby. Yeah, but we play But the Australian rugby is weird. Their rules are completely weird.
Oh yeah, the Australian leagues are super interesting. It's very interesting
Yeah.
to watch them play compared to other rugby teams.
I still haven't bothered to learn the rules. Yeah, it's just funny.
Oh, I played rugby for almost 10 years and I never learned the rules. It's all right.
I
It's kind of how the game works.
fractured both wrists playing. Yeah, I fractured both wrists playing rugby in high school.
Oof. It's a rough one.
I was a missionary and had a companion from British Columbia, and he was a huge rugby guy. And he's from this middle of nowhere town, and apparently 2 of the players for Team Canada were from his town. So, like, even though it was a small middle of nowhere place, like rugby was huge there. They'd have tournaments every year. It was kind of fun to hear him talk about it.
I was I think the worst injury I got was probably this concussion. I dove for the ball and a guy on the other team went to kick it. And as I dove for it, he ended up basically kicking me right in the head. And it wasn't one of those concussions where like your vision fades out or anything. It was just straight to black. And then I woke up on the side of the field with like medics around me. I was like, oh. And then they asked me,
Yeah.
they asked me where they thought I was, and I looked around and I saw hills, and I was like, Southern Ohio? And they're like, no, you're not even in the right state, Scald. You're in Kentucky right now. And I was like, oh my God. I got kicked into last week. I thought it was the previous week's game.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
concussions are quite common in rugby, unfortunately, just like NFL, I guess.
Yeah, I got slammed on my head from fucking 9 feet high because I was, and I'm 6'5", so there was this guy that was way bigger than me. He's almost 7 foot tall, and he's a huge motherfucker. I mean, like fucking linebacker. And we were playing, and I remember, dude, he hit me, and I went for the ball, and he slammed me all the way from up in the air, bro. And I landed on my fucking neck, bro. I thought I broke my fucking head or some shit.
Oh,
Fucking
Now
wild.
you know normal people's experience when they run into you.
Yeah, pretty much. But I mean, it didn't hurt as bad as I thought it would. I thought it was gonna hurt a lot more while it was happening, but it didn't hurt as bad as most people probably would have gotten hurt.
There are big deficiencies to being tall. One, we breathe a lighter atmosphere. There's less oxygen, like where we breathe. So that really holds me back, my intelligence. And then, yeah, if you fall, you have a lot further to go. And I really fucked myself up.
Yeah, falling sucks, bro.
Everyone's asking about plays. Why don't you give us your plays, guys?
FedEx, FedEx.
We're up here every day talking about plays. Come
And
on.
our head injuries. I mean, George has got
some
stuff.
plays in the comments. Put some plays in the comments.
I mean, I've got to play. I'm still buying up some like 2-year leaps on EVTL just because it's cheap as fuck right now, and nobody's paying attention to this sector. So just slowly clawing these things up. I'm trying to get like 500 options contracts.
I mean, I made 8% on Re this morning, and that's all I needed.
All right, well, here's some plays in the comments. I bought VIX when the EU market opens. I don't know how you bought VIX. Are you trading some sort of derivative of it? EU VIXy or something, probably. And then let's see, we got Google calls. This guy's doing Zim. Has a dividend coming in a few days. Been climbing since then. Pretty large dividend. Someone says Rite Aid is taking a dump. Man, that's a name I have not heard in a long time. Rite Aid.
We talked about them the other day. They're getting sued by the DOJ over their involvement in the opioid crisis.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, a lot of those other lawsuits already went through, and companies ended up having to pay out. So it's not looking good for Rite Aid.
Well, yeah, I think this is going to be the final nail in Rite Aid's coffin because, like, Walgreens had to pay Florida more than Rite Aid's market cap.
Walgreens owns Rite Aid, right? Is that correct? I think they own Rite Aid.
No, they're separate.
They're still okay. Because I remember going into a Walgreens and someone one of the store managers mentioning that they used to be a Rite Aid. That's odd.
I mean,
No, they wouldn't do that because they actually do their own construction usually because they have the land. Huh?
Yeah, they probably bought the Rite Aid building, is what it happened because that happened where I live. Is that there used to be a Rite Aid and it got turned into like a Walgreens or a CVS.
Let's see, we got somebody saying that they're looking at XLF calls. It's an interesting one. XLF calls dated for June.
I got to play. Georgia, it surprisingly came from Georgia in a sense. He mentioned something about FedEx, how he's not shipping with FedEx anymore. And I think a lot of these guys are going to the post office now.
Yeah.
They can't get, you know what I mean?
Well, the post office is expanding to include banking services in certain areas. In rural areas, they've been testing it out.
Dude,
I'd like to hear more about that.
I used to flip stuff on eBay too back in the day, and I always went with the post office. Their flat rate shipping is like 4 times cheaper than anything else, and now they have pretty modern tracking capabilities. That was always their problem, is their tracking sucked, but now they have good tracking, and I understand how they constantly lose money because they don't charge shit for their shipping.
They've been piloting so much.
They've increased rates though. They've increased rates recently.
Ria.
Yeah, but like they keep like increasing the cost of their stamps like 3 pennies, 4 pennies, like dumb shit that doesn't even like just raise it to a fucking $1. I'll pay $1.
Yeah. No, I mean for packages, the costs have gone up significantly. Like their pricing. So I think Trump had some
there was a huge
improvement to their business model that he wanted, and I think those started to take effect. But yeah, it's still cheaper.
Like good.
Your mic is coming in and out like almost like a wave or something.
Makes
He
him
might
feel
just
like a
be-
rock star.
Well,
he might just be really passionate about his statement, you know?
Fist pumping.
Yeah, you're feeling the vibe. Yeah.
So yeah, it's supposed to be like the cornerstone of rural communities is the end goal for the pivot on the postal service here. As they've been working on this for over 12 years that I'm aware of. And it's been a large expense. They were delayed 2 years. I don't know if you all know, but they were having severe administrative and bureaucratic problems for a long time. I would expect them to become a bigger player in the share package business that they were losing for quite some time, though. Which
I
I
hope they fucking do. I love the post office, man. Like the post office has been the cornerstone of a town. Like if you go to a really small country town that has no stoplights, like there's a post office, and the people that work in there like know everybody in the town.
Damn right, they're probably
Yeah, but those post offices are only open 1 day a week.
Yes, that's the other thing that's going on now. They've closed down certain ones. They still haven't even finished the network system for package delivery. It's only in select markets, and it's amazing the markets it's in. So they've moved very slowly with what they're doing, and it's forcing them to consolidate in some ways so that they can expand what the programs are that they feel will give them business in perpetuity as a U.S. institution. As a result of that, mail dropped in delivery to 6 days a week in some places, 5 days a week the last 4 years. I can't remember how many in management were terminated, but as far as like the regional management, it was crazy what the flip was on them. But there's somewhere on the federal government's website that on one of the websites you could find where the plan for it is. It's public knowledge, obviously.
So
that way,
two things on that. One, I had no idea how passionate I was about the post office. I love those fucking guys. Two, my post office delivery lady literally leaves Christmas cookies in my mailbox at Christmas time.
tip your post office your cash and your garbage men booze.
You know she's trying to fuck, though, right?
Donuts, your city planner.
And if I'm not wrong, the post office is the only government entity that's actually profitable year over year.
No, it's not profitable, which is the problem, but it's supposed to be.
Anybody who thinks the government isn't profitable, like the money doesn't really exist to begin with. So as long as they get resources, they're profitable. The way I look at it, even though it's not.
Well, as Amtrak.
Yeah.
Well, compared to other agencies,
if you want to
I think they're profitable, aren't they?
If you want a good look into the
They don't
government,
really get any funding from Congress. They're supposed to be self-funded, but yeah, they've been bleeding money ever since that rule was made.
I have noticed that they have upgraded a lot of their vehicles. Like around here, they were riding a lot of the older ones. They've just upgraded a whole bunch of newer like vans. So I don't know if anybody's seen any more upgrades in your post office locally. Like, are they? They used to have like contractor guys because they couldn't get enough fucking drivers. They used to have these guys just come in their cars with the fucking sticker say post office, dropping off packages and shit.
I've got
That's
both
still-
here in Orlando.
Depending where you live, they still do, because that's generally how most rural mail carriers are, is that they have to provide their own vehicle.
yeah, so that's really common for the rural ones. Interesting note about that. They used to have like special converted vehicles that were right-hand drive to deliver the mail, but now that the Japanese cars are more than 25 years old for the 90s ones, a lot of the rural mail carriers are buying like JDM, like non-turbo Skylines and shit, and delivering mail in them.
Shut the front door. Are you serious? I saw a 92 white Skyline in traffic the other day. Beautiful. Not a mail carrier, but
Yeah, they're getting like the 4-door Skylines, right-hand drive RAV4s, Toyota Previa vans, things like that.
I want to be a mail person and get a
I
Skyline.
was just gonna say the same thing. Yeah.
Dude, you stay with them long enough, you get government benefits. But yeah, I have seen up in New Jersey, where my wife's family's from, there were some electric postal service vans delivering mail.
Do I get a monthly set of Pirelli?
Not even worth
I'm going
it.
to be going fast.
It's not even worth it to work for the fucking postal service anymore, bro. They work a ridiculous amount of hours, like a fucking ridiculous amount of hours.
I mean, isn't that where the phrase "going postal" comes from? I mean,
Yeah,
haven't
because
people been coming in and shooting everybody since like the 80s?
Dude, honestly, I would work for the post office if they didn't fucking make people work 100 fucking hours a week. Like I could do that while I'm in college, but no, these motherfuckers want you to work literally. Like I got a friend that's working 120 hours in a fucking week, bro. Like a crazy amount of hours. Like that's almost not even humanly possible to do
I
that.
used to do 126 hours a week for 3.5 years of my life.
Sorry to interrupt. Western Alliance is unhalted. The bank just halted downward, and then it halted going up. But it's unhalted yet again. Western Alliance still sort of all over the place.
Appreciate them.
Trading it.
I appreciate them unhalting it so that I could sell the shares that I bought yesterday and I was underwater on. For the guy that said 125 hours, yeah, I remember my first part-time job too.
Right.
Bro, I remember when I got in the army, I thought, no, we're not going to work that long. I'll go home. No, you're stuck in the cough all fucking night. You don't get to go home. Even when you're at home, you're fucking not with your family. It's fucking crazy.
I was looking at the freaking
But it's
options
still,
for
but for some
Reed.
people, bro, if you got like sleep apnea and shit, like that shit is not possible at all, bro. For the most part.
Who had those
They're looking
EBT?
up the-
See, and boomers are asking why people don't want to work. It's because of all these freaking conditions. Oh yeah, I'm working 60 hours a week. I'm working 80 hours a week, and this is literally the largest part of the problem here, in my opinion.
Well, it doesn't pay enough anyways. Like the money is not worth nearly as much as it used to be. So that's the problem. And the second problem is how are we going to reverse that? And I think, someone mentioned like in Congress going to fucking the gold standard again, which I don't know if it'll help, but I mean,
Actually, I think one of the best ideas, and in my opinion, for helping not only fix this but fix this long term, Bernie Sanders introduced raising the federal minimum wage, eliminating the tip credit thing because way too many restaurants and stuff are attempting to take advantage of it. I'm tired of giving tips to fast food people.
Well, it's not my
and-
fucking job, Like, why should I have to pay your fucking bill? That's not my fucking job. That's
Exactly. I have no problem doing it for a sit-down restaurant, but when it comes to fast food, I mean, why are we doing this?
But dude, like one of the
especially-
number one best things about Europe, you don't tip anybody ever.
Yeah.
Well, I don't tip anyone regardless because I'm not fucking, it's the government's job to fix that shit, not mine. And that's just how I look at it.
Hey, I'm former restaurant server manager. I mean, so I'm very much okay with tipping, but fast food is where I draw the line. I do the minimum what I can. But the other most important thing that Bernie Sanders is that he wanted to attach the federal minimum wage to CPI, and I think that will actually fix a lot of that long term.
That would actually
We're
be
getting
the
a fair
first
amount of
sensible thing I've heard
questions.
from Bernie Sanders.
So gentlemen, really quick on this note, a typical independently operated restaurant runs at best, if you are very good at it and very experienced, and you have multiple locations, you average the best you can perform is 14% pre-tax operating profits. The typical restaurant
Incorrect. Just because I'm a general manager of a restaurant, incorrect. That is not the best you can perform.
You can perform much better. Like if you know people in the area, usually you'll do very good.
driven restaurant.
Dude, I had 25%, so.
You had 25% pre-tax operating profits.
Yes, sir.
What was your occupational percentage per month? For fixed costs, not people.
First off, this guy's name, Nervous, sir, is like the most accurate name of anybody I've heard on here. I appreciate you putting that out there.
On the nose, right? Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing though. If you just raise like the proper things to a standard price, such as like your alcohol, things that don't cost money, like your pastas and stuff like that, that's where you cover your line on how much money you're making and how much money you're not making. At least this was how it was in my steak restaurant. Yeah, I was taking not a loss, but like I was running thinner profit margins on some of my steaks. On my exotic steaks, I was charging a little extra. So I was making a higher profit margin on my exotic steaks, but people were willing to pay them because they were dry aged or they were Wagyu or they were buffalo. And then my largest profit margins obviously came from my pastas and my drinks. So I mean, you just run those two things, and honestly, you can run at 20-25%, no problem.
I'm not talking food costs here. I mean, three figures. What was your PPA? What was your monthly fixed cost for occupation? And then what was your staff size?
I mean, are you looking to open a restaurant?
No,
This motherfucker's gonna open a damn Chewy's.
Staff size, I had about 20
Oh,
servers on
what?
hand. I had about 4 servers a day, 4 to 6 depending on. We were in a hotel, so we had pretty consistent business being fed to us. I will say that. As far as price per person, I'd say we were running somewhere around 40-ish, around 40-ish per person, like on the average.
Okay. And a hotel, okay, your occupation could have been a sweet deal then. That's possible within that. Within a freestanding building, or within a strip center in a major city. Because I'm in 3 major cities and several smaller ones. It's very highly increasing occupational cost right now.
Here's the thing, man. Like the rest of the entire world, like I get this, okay? And I'm not trying to like you're trying to fight the side without even having been in that industry, and the rest of the entire world can pay their servers a minimum wage. The fact that we can't pay servers a living wage, having seen that side,
being
aggravates
25 an
me.
hour, that is a living wage in America today.
Very quickly with it, because this has been attempted since 2000.
Guys, can we focus on plays? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
like,
Yeah,
Jesus,
Yeah,
it's
okay,
only
I'm
been
sorry,
asked.
guys.
It's only been asked 8 separate times by different people. Like,
yeah,
it's getting pretty bad. So I've got a play. It's profoundly retarded, but I'm going to share it all with you guys. So here's the play. The idea is that Trump has announced that part of his campaign promises is flying cars. I know it sounds stupid, but there's an equally dumb company that's only been around since 2021 called EVTL that is going to make flying cars. So here's the play. I'm just going to long these EVTL things, and then as it gets closer to the election season and Trump starts talking about flying cars more and more, I will sell out of those calls when it pumps on that news.
Fucking amen.
I was gonna say you just talked about this, so
I
Copper's
mean,
been talking about this
kudos,
for like
man, for the long thought on that.
Dude, that's all you need with Trump theories.
No, he literally said like his campaign came out with like 5 things, and one is investment in air vehicles, like literally flying cars. So like
That is an angle of this investment that I did not consider, but I am pleasantly happy with. The one time that guy mentioned Kodak, we all remember what happened.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? You know what they were doing too, Skull. They were trying to make a crypto casino. That was one of the ideas for Kodak after that pump.
Oh, and they tried to get into the NFT game and a bunch of other stuff. You know, Kodak is not to be underestimated. They once found a nuclear reactor in their headquarters. Google it. I am dead serious. They
dude,
found
I'm
a nuclear reactor in the basement of the Kodak headquarters. And they were like, why is this here? And it was very concerning. And then the Department of Energy got involved. Anyway, moving on. What else we got?
Another play I was looking at, if I could quickly mention, I'm noticing that Enphase has actually dropped to support levels right now. So I was thinking about being a little bullish on Enphase for a short period of time.
Yeah, I mean, I
Are
think in
these
general,
the guys that are also doing the wireless power, trying to do wireless power also? Or is that not what Enphase
I think that's
is?
the nuclear reactor one. Is that right, Mr. Java? Are they the ones that do the small nuclear reactors?
No. Enphase is solar and solar microchip processors, and they were actually one of the bull stocks during like 2022, and I mean they went from, I think when I originally picked them up, I want to say they were $9 a share. They're currently they're currently at, I believe, $2.24.
Interesting. Also, apparently they built.
I'm sorry,
power
they're at
inverters.
200 right now.
Another, I mean, honestly, I think this whole banking thing, which is obviously going to cause problems for a while, is going to create a lot of other great buying opportunities in some of the good old, electric EV, classic things that people seem to like. QS is one that I'm watching. They're kind of a full of shit company, but they might. I listen to their calls. They might actually have some decent tech. And if they get down around like $5-6 a share, I might pick some of that up.
I've been saying fucking Intel, Philip Morris, all fucking week. Anybody following? Y'all would have made some money here. Philip dumping, sold my 95 puts, rolled it into my Intel 29.5 this morning, and it's already like 100%. I'm riding these bitches out, man. I think Intel wants 30. Somebody wants Intel at 30. Might even go higher then, but I'm gonna get out these positions. But thank God I got out with some money.
Top market losers are the usual suspects of various biotechs, as well as the most recent suspects, which are banks. First Republic Bank down 29%. Brutal. Western Alliance now down 11. Key Bank down 8%. Key's in a little rougher place. They're one of these larger banks out there. I mean, larger for a regional. But they do have not the greatest book compared to some of these others. So it's not surprising that they're getting penalized.
Yeah, Key got hammered at the open. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it bouncing back up here.
What was their Moody's? Anybody remember?
I don't know. Like, I mean, literally every bank got downgraded. Like every single one got downgraded. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, didn't they come out and say that just the entire banking business is shit for the future?
I feel better knowing that I'm no longer the biggest loser.
They marked it down from stable to uncertain, I think it was, or uncertain. So the overall sector. So yeah, it wasn't good.
I got two more plays for you guys, and then I got to head out. I got this meeting here at 10:30. So my last two are going to be Snap Inc. pumping today. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to potentially buy puts. I'm just going to keep an eye on the option chain because I think Snap is destined to continue its downward movement. And then also GitLab, GTLB. It's on the top gainers for today. It's up 3.47%. Here's the thing about GitLab. Google just started buying a bunch of their stock yesterday. So it was announced. So this is probably the market pricing that in for GitLab, GTLB. My thought on that one is Microsoft already owns competing products. So it's possible that Google buying these stocks is a first gambit to perhaps an eventual buyout. That's wild speculation. Either way, GTLB is moving up pretty nicely on this news that Google's buying shares.
Nice. Thank you.
Google's pumping up. Looks like it may hit 100 today if it keeps going on this mid 98s. And a couple of the other companies I've talked about recently, Raytheon and Northrop Grumman is looking good too. So if you think things are going to get a little sketchier on the world stage, I would buy those. They also make money too. They really do.
Who makes the Reapers?
That's Northrop, I believe.
I thought it was a company called General Atomics that made some of those drones. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, and I didn't read into it. I mean, when I looked at Northrop, what I looked at, they had the highest profit margin out of the U.S. defense companies. They had the most U.S. contracts and the most international. So I see them as a kind of a long-term good play. And I'm acquiring shares. I'm not playing options on it yet. It'd take a while. They're 455 or so, or 452 a share. So that'd be a pretty big position.
Good call on all of that.
I'm sorry. Could you say that again, Nervous? I didn't get.
Oh, I said very good call going long on that. Out of all the defense companies, that's very solid.
Yeah, and thank you. And it pays the dividend, and it's in my retirement account. So yeah, I see that as especially for the next, let's call it 2 years. I definitely know that like if things go really wiry, really bad, I'll lose less there.
Looking at Truist, excuse me, Truist Financial, TFC.
Yeah, they're based out of Atlanta, right? Are you bullish, bearish?
Bearish, corporate debt, shorting corporate debt in all regional banks. The best corporate debt in 2023 for small business, which is 50% country's corporate debt, is the worst or one of the worst shortages in 2008.
Yeah, I can confirm Truist has a lot of shit tied up in crappy automotive loans. So the cars that are getting repoed are hurting them pretty bad.
And I believe, again, they're in that KRE regional basket, I believe. So I'd also like to see what their bond portfolio looks like, too, to add to your bearish thesis.
Is there anything around the semis right now? They're all fucking ripping.
Around the what?
The semiconductors.
You know, I don't see anything specifically for that sector, but if you look at what sectors are doing well, again, I touched on this yesterday, kind of like how the FANGs are doing well. It's the companies that have, you know, they're producing a real product and they've got a stronger cash flow than others. So even though it's kind of cyclical and kind of boring, if you're looking at just the SMH or the SOX, it's gaining a little bit of a bid. And that may also be tied, not to go too far, but with interest rates, if they're dropping, they tend to do better as well, too.
I'm reading this this Trump thing, like what he actually said, and he's talking about building entire new cities, like out from scratch on federal land.
Yeah, he also said he wanted a baby boom. He's going to pay you a baby bonus. So here's your chance, Copper.
Bro, I've been trying.
I wish we'd stop talking about stimuluses, like as a federal government, and just start talking about raising minimum wage. I mean, you want people to, have kids, then maybe we should raise the minimum wage.
Raising that minimum wage will not help inflation.
No, but it'll help people afford the things that are already out of their reach. I mean, the last time we raised the minimum wage was back in 2009, and everyone kept fighting the fact they were like, oh, yeah, the prices of goods will go up if we raise the minimum wage. Well, the prices of goods already shot up astronomically, and our minimum wage hasn't been raised since 2009. So you do the math.
That
I did the math, and when I was in the Subway sandwich shop business,
Not you, bud. Not you. I meant I didn't mean you do the
I understand.
math.
I understand, but I'm just saying that you can't sell a $5 footlong and pay somebody $15 an hour to make it. Productivity's not there.
No longer a $5 footlong. Was there the other day, and it was like $9 or some crap like that.
Exactly. Illinois and Washington led the charge on $15 minimum wage. Again,
I went to McDonald's the other day, and for two people, I spent $30.
Yeah, again, so back to my point, everyone's like, well, the cost of your burgers will double. Well, the cost of the burgers have already doubled. And if you actually take it from the side of the shares instead of the side of the cost of the burgers, the prices of the shares will only drop by like $1 or $2 if you just raise those costs, and then to which it will bounce back shortly thereafter.
What I was trying to get earlier, gentlemen, I had a restaurant that was no tipping for several years allowed, and we actually were able to get a much lesser profit than typical, but we were able to survive. Was actually my point in the end. That's all I want to say about the restaurant thing, though. But you can survive, but it's just very low margin.
then you have to make it up on volume.
We were 181 covers was the maximum we could ever do. It was 24 courses and 3.5 hours sitting, and so you couldn't flip tables. Like I said, not a traditional restaurant, tasting menu only, and so a little different for that experience.
Less corporate people to pay out, the more likelihood that profit margin will bounce back.
Very true.
Back to plays. So I just read this whole Trump thing. So if you actually think Trump's gonna get reelected, then construction, baby stuff, and flying cars. That's what you need to invest in.
Trump is going to single-handedly save Bed Bath & Beyond because Bye Bye Baby will just prop them up.
If Bed Bath & Beyond starts selling track loaders and dozers along with flying cars, I'm fucking in. All in on that company.
Beyond.
Hey, Opinion or whoever else is out there. I see Jay Bourbon's got his hand up. I'm sure he's got some plays. I don't know if there's anyone else that has it.
Another play that I'm kind of long on right now is Plug Power. There's been some interesting options, call sweeps on them, and the hydrogen sector is going to grow. Whether or not it's relevant for cars, it probably isn't, but Toyota seems to think it is. But hydrogen still is useful for a lot of other things like steel melting and such. So it's definitely a growing sector, and they keep getting contracts to buy their shit left and right from big companies.
They're also, I believe, involved with one of the 3 Texas pilot programs for providing the several oil companies are doing their mid-range transport using hydrogen vehicles. for the next half a year, I believe, and Plug is one of like 6 that are involved with providing the stations for it.
Yeah, I think they're going to be crucial on the infrastructure side for hydrogen, which hydrogen is it's a gamble. I mean, if you can find a way to make it cost effectively and low emissions, then you can do it.
It's the utilization aspect. For a very specific niche of mid haul shipping, it has proven its worth supposedly in a couple markets that was big in. However, it never has caught on in other commercial application or in personal, obviously. And South Korea scrapped a lot of their hydrogen projects about 3 years ago, if I remember correctly, maybe 4 years ago. But it'll always be a segment for mid haul trucking of heavy items. Basically, it's easier for the switch outs with that than charging an electric for 850 miles or so. So they'll have a stance. Like I said, they're one of
Well, I mean, it also depends on the development of the internal combustion version, right? Like if you're just using it for fuel cells and just to create a minuscule amount of energy like the Toyota Mirai does, I don't know if that's the way to go. But if you figure out how to burn it as an ice and keep the internal combustion engine alive, then I don't know.
There's definitely a big want for that.
Nervous, how much coffee did you have this morning?
Same as always. Starting at 3 a.m., 1 pot of cold drip chicory, and I'm on my second cup of my second pot.
Your stomach must be like lined with fucking adamantium or something.
Key is still dumping.
Is anyone trying to play momentum on these things? On the real estate? I mean, on the banks? Apologies.
The IVs are ridiculous, but you can.
Yeah, I figured. I was hoping to lose. It's crazy.
I'm in CS. It was up 9%. Maybe more.
I keep buying a small amount of puts on Silvergate just because it keeps legging down like every week.
Who had the Massachusetts bank play that to start off the chat? The leap? EBTA or EBT? I forget what it was. EBTC?
Got real quiet real fast. Silvergate is down 6%.
Anybody in the chat got any questions I can read out loud? I got an answer on Intel, baby. Should have bought in on Monday. Georgia's at the post office. And Lambo's, I have no clue when.
To answer the question on Win Lambo, just remember you don't have to buy the whole car at once. As the good old, was it Tennessee Ernie Ford song? No. Was that an old country star that bought the car one piece at a time from or stole the car one piece at a time from a factory?
Johnny Cash.
Thank you, Johnny Cash. You can buy the Lambo one piece at a time if you want. Just for real, you can put it together.
You just gotta go work at Lambo in Italy.
To answer Pansy Grazo with recession, how about investing in alcoholism? Actually, beer is an excellent stock, recessionary stock. So if you like a beer stock and you're thinking recession, that's not a terrible play, at least according to history.
NOC is moving up nice and steady. Low volume, which is nice.
Sean 760, anyone following Congress trading this week? I haven't followed Congress trading this week. I do have Quant that I do check every now and then, but is there anything particular that jumps out at you?
That's a really good question. What are the politicians doing with all this bank news?
Farming Minion says, if beer is good in recession, doesn't that mean that smoke is good in recession too? I don't know how you would want to play that smoke play, just because I know a lot of people are cutting tobacco per se. But I mean, you take that as you will. At least beer is one solid thing that I have to worry about. Smoke is a little convoluted. You know, are you talking tobacco? Are you talking marijuana? Are you talking vapes? So I mean, it really depends on the exposure of each company, and what you are willing to take on that. At least if I'm investing in Sam Adams, I know exactly what I'm getting into.
I just want to add to that. I found out there's a ETF called VICE, and if you have that thesis that those things are going to be things people find pleasure in, regardless of what's going on in the economy, that could be something you could look into. But they only hold things that are like alcohol, food and beverage, tobacco, gaming, that kind of stuff.
Nice. The ticker on that was Vice, VICE.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks. So yeah, I'm definitely adding that to my ETF watch list.
The contagion in cannabis due to the fact that they get primary financing until the Banking Act happens. So I don't know what's going to go on with their interest rates being in the secondary market.
Silvergate is down 9% now.
I got a quick question about FedEx again, because I'm gonna be playing them on earnings, because fuck it, But mind you, I'm going bearish on it. What happened to their stock in September 15th when it just tanked? Does anybody have any news? What happened there?
Yeah, that was where the CEO came out and said like a horrendous outlook for the world or some shit like that.
What a clown.
I very clearly remember that moment because I had a bunch of longs on some other completely unrelated shit, and when he came out and said that, it tanked fucking everything.
Oof.
Hey guys, I'm gonna try restarting the stream. So sorry about this, but I'm gonna try and fix the audio.